CEO of WeedMD. Keith, welcome back.
I'm pleased to be here. Thanks for having me.
How excited are you about Wednesday, October 17th?
You know what? It's kind of mixed emotions, to be honest. It's super exciting just conceptually that we've hit this milestone that we've all been gunning towards for years now. But on the flip side of that, it's actually day one. It's not the end of a race. It's actually the beginning, believe it or not. And it's not so much a revolution as it is an evolution going forward. So it's not as if on October 17th the world changes. If you're living in Ontario, you're not going to see a store open up that you'll be able to consume or purchase cannabis at. You'll be able to go online and perhaps get some at the OCS store. I can imagine that website's going to be a busy place on Wednesday. But again, there's going to be a lot of bumps in the road as we roll forward and as this industry evolves, as we try to eradicate this black market that's been around forever, that is actually our real true competitors in this space today rather than the other LPs. It's really the black market that we're dealing with. And it's not going to go away and poof in a puff of smoke on the 17th either. So, boy,
he's not just another pretty face, is he? Keith is, no, that's so insightful. I'm not used to that kind of insight coming from that side of the table with Ed sitting there all the time.
I was inspired by your
there you go.
By your prop.
There you
go. Right, the philosopher. That's a really interesting perspective, Keith. And I got to say that that's the first time I've ever had reason to think about it in those terms, where it is just the beginning of a long and probably quite arduous implementation.
Of course.
So that's a refreshing way to think about it. So I guess we shouldn't expect to have cannabis available everywhere that we would want it to be on the first day. And I guess it's unreasonable to expect that the website's going to launch without a hitch because A, it's run by the government, so as if that's going to happen. B,
no comment.
Right, we'll make those comments for you. But you know.
And ironically, all the cannabis that you'll see being consumed on Wednesday will highly likely be sourced from the illicit market. So.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm not smoking it if it's illegal, are you?
Well, all these dispensaries that are open now, are they going to all get closed? How does that work?
So yeah, in theory, they should all be shutting their doors on October 17th or risk much bigger fines than they would face today.
Right.
So they've been kind of tolerated in this, and they call it the gray market, as to where we are today.
Yeah.
And the government's come out with, the carrot and the stick gets much bigger on October 17th with respect to dealing with these dispensaries and again, the illicit market. But that being said, this black market's been around for 100 years. They've got deep and meaningful relationships with their customers.
Sure.
And critically, they can provide products that we're not able to provide under the legal regime today. So if you want your shatter and if you want your waxes and your edibles and your whatever else you can find in the dispensary shelves.
Preloaded vape pen?
Correct.
Where else are you going to get that?
You're not going to get it with an LP, unfortunately, not for another year. We're all gunning towards, that's really where this gets more interesting is a year from now.
Right. Right. So do you think that these dispensaries who voluntarily not close because they are, they're supplying a market they've been supplying for 100 years, and I'm trying to remember the last time there was a cannabis shortage in Canada from the black market was briefly during the 70s, during the Paraquat scare was the last time I recall. So I'm trying to think, okay, the Globe and Mail is right, there will be a cannabis shortage, but only in what we deem now legal cannabis.
Yeah, I can remember there was a couple of micro supply shortages back when I was in high school, just on a particular Friday night. But
certain schools would be dry.
We won't go into
that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, certainly there's a shortage, and the nice thing about WeedMD is that we're one of those companies that has a very prolific production platform that's ready for action, and we'll be one of the few producers that's got product for sale and going forward throughout 2019. We'll look forward to supplying this country with our premium quality cannabis.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So in that note, where will you be able to buy WeedMD cannabis on October 17th? Which provinces, which online outlets?
Yep, so for the rec market, we have agreements and we've made shipments to the provinces of BC, Alberta, Ontario, and Nova Scotia. And that's where you'll find WeedMD under the rec regime. Of course, the medical side, it'll be interesting to watch, the now sort of ignored medical side of the business, which is something at WeedMD we feel very strongly about. It's been our core business, obviously, since we started this company. And we have a big group of patients that we support with our products. And Of course, that's not going away. And that channel remains. Of course, we've also got the Shoppers Drug Mart channel, where rather than being one of maybe 30 LPs on the shelves of the OCS, we'll be one of 7 that now that Shoppers Drug Mart has their license.
So Shoppers Drug Mart is selling on October 17th?
No, sir.
No.
So Shoppers is the medical channel. Again.
Oh.
So they have a license and they will be distributing medical product.
I see.
And they will be critically distributing WeedMD's medical product.
Right. Huh. So in some respects, it might be better to continue pretending to be a medical patient instead of actually admitting my recreational orientation.
That'll be a decision that we all have to make for ourselves. I mean, but in all seriousness, and to talk to Plato again, certainly there are, patients in today's medical regime who may, let's just say, take the easy road and go back to the rec, or go to the rec market versus stay in that medical regime where they have to go through the trouble of getting a prescription to access cannabis. On the flip side of that, and you know what, I'm happy to see those patients go the way of the rec market and supply them there. That's great. What that will leave us with is a core medical patient population that will be using cannabis for all the right reasons, that will be getting proper, treatment and regimes by which they can use it through their physicians, and really the true medical users will be the core base of that market.
So do you see the medical contingent sort of contracting as the recreational contingent suddenly comes out of prohibition? And
absolutely, I would
initially
predict,
for sure.
correct, but then I see it obviously expanding over time as the true medical benefits of cannabis are further researched, developed, explored, and explained and revealed.
No, but the Globe, that's the article that was in the Globe today, or at least they quoted the Globe on Saturday.
Yeah, hey, WeedMD's all over the Globe these days. Did you see us? Our head of QA was on the front page of the Globe and Mail today. It was very exciting. Very exciting.
Good.
Do you think there's any risk that the medical side at some point is going to say, you know what, I don't need this headache of maintaining a prescription. I've been using it now for 10 years in lieu of insert your former drug of choice here, and I don't need the medical regime anymore. I'm just going to go grab it at the rec store because A, it's cheaper, B, it's I can walk in and smell, taste, touch, and feel. Do you think there's a risk that the recreational regime actually undermines the medical administration of cannabis to some degree?
Yes, and it's a real risk, and it's a great point.
Unless you're getting insurance that pays for it.
This is it. So there's not as many differentiating factors between the two markets as I would like to see. Take taxation, which is one critical one. Medical patients are having to pay not only HST on their product, but the excise tax, which is in some circles known as a sin tax, which is kind of a funny thing to be charging a medical patient for.
Right.
So there's no price differentiation, in other words, between the two markets, which is unfortunate. But there is, to Ed's point, differentiation by respect of being able to write off medical expenses. And then we've got some insurance coverage slowly but surely starting to come to the fore in the industry.
That's got to get bigger and bigger.
And it will continue to grow, and that's another differentiating point. I mean, you've got Veterans Affairs Canada covering for our veterans in this country, which is fantastic, as one of the early payers in the space, and we're seeing more and more of that as we go forward. And then there's other little points of differentiation too, like place of use, where if you've got a medical card, you're a little bit freer to consume cannabis than you would be otherwise.
All right, now you've also got plans to expand internationally, correct? I see that back in September, you announced that you'd exported genetics to Australia's Medifarm.
Yeah, so that was the first of what is going to be many transactions like this, where we finally, broke down the door with Health Canada to allow us to export genetics. It was the first imported genetics into Australia, and the minute we did that, literally the phone lines lit up, because there's LPs across the world who are looking for help on the genetics side. WeedMD's got a really extensive genetics program and library at our fingertips, so we were very happy to provide to Australia, create some good relationships there. So we'll be heading back over. We had a team on the ground there to bring the genetics over. We've built some relationships, and we'll be building on that going forward.
Very cool. So that brings me to another question. We can grow 4 plants ourselves starting October 17th, except in Manitoba and Quebec. Where do I get my little plants? Can I get them from WeedMD?
So unfortunately not on day one. I do believe that the Ontario Cannabis Store will be stocking seeds. I'm not sure if they have them in play for day one or not. I don't believe so, but don't quote me. We made a push because we were one of the few LPs that actually sells plants on a regular basis. We sell huge quantities of plants to other licensed producers. We've made a very unique business out of that. We also sell plants to people who grow their own at home. So I made a pitch to the OCS in the early going to say, why don't we work together to find a solution here? Because the way the act was written, it was prohibitory for WeedMD to ship directly to a consumer. So it would have to go through the OCS distribution center, and the OCS distribution center wasn't set up to deal with plants.
I wonder if it's crossed their minds that it's really not anything that constitutes a drug until it's been growing for at least, 3 months, 4 months.
I am with you. I tried to convince them, but
Right.
unfortunately, I guess I wasn't convincing enough.
Right.
Not in the first.
You are dealing with the government. But anyways,
we'll get there.
we'll get there. All right, what are the big catalysts we can look for in the rest of 2018 and 2019 going forward for WeedMD that, as investors, we would be happy about?
Cool. So I got a really neat one for you.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of these things, but they're called numbers and metrics.
Oh.
Weird,
You mean
eh?
like performance?
Yeah.
They don't have that in the cannabis business, Keith.
Not yet, anyway.
Who are you
So
trying to
look-
snow here?
So this production platform that I keep going on about is really a fantastic thing, and it has the capability to provide some very, very large numbers for this company going forward. And I think that as we peel back the onion in this industry, and as we go forward, and we find out who can live up to the representations that have been made, I'll be pleased to look back in 12 months' time and say, there we are, we did it. Because that's first and foremost. And without that production platform and that cannabis, it's pretty tough to do all those other wonderful things. So that's number one. We've also got, further to your point about international, we've got some exciting news on that front that'll be coming forward over the next couple months. And there's a couple of other really tasty announcements that WeedMD is going to be making over the next couple months as well that I can't give you any more detail on at the moment. But certainly we've spent the summer really busy building out the team, making sure that this platform comes online on time and on budget. And now is the time for us to start stepping beyond that sort of 1.0 piece of having the cultivation platform, the extraction platform, and the operations in line. And we can start expanding this company to where it belongs.
Wow, sounds amazing. Keith, well, thank you again for joining us. Always a pleasant conversation.